getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for school, getting ready for the weekend. Welcome in. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Joe Spadoni. And for the next hour, we're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. It could be sports related. Hell, could not be. You know the question on a Friday, not a payday Friday, but nonetheless, it's a Friday. And it's always a Phil Collins Friday here on the pregame show. So we got that going for us. But we can talk about whatever. What are you doing this weekend? That's always the question I ask on a Friday. 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to get involved, whether it's through calling or texting the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570. The number. Also, be sure to download that Odyssey app. Yeah, it's completely free. Download it. Favorite 95.7 The Game for all of your Giants, Warriors, Niners coverage. Niners getting after it at training camp. Brock Purdy throwing yesterday. He spoke to the media after practice, so we're going to hear what he has to say. I'm sure some rust is to be expected. I'm sure Bonte and Chasky will be on the morning roast at 6 o'clock. We'll have lots to say. They were out there live as well, along with our guy Sam Lubman, producer extraordinaire and host of Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys. And thank you, Sam, for getting the YouTube up. We are up and streaming now. Little technical difficulties early. Nothing that we could do about it. Just, YouTube being YouTube. But we love them, and we love you interacting with us. Search 95.7 The Game on Twitch, on YouTube. Like, subscribe, favorite, do everything. Ring the bell. Ring the bell is what we like to say now. Speaking of ringing the bell, or answering the bell, for that matter, that's what Brock Purdy did last year. He was that dude for 8 games with the San Francisco 49ers. He came in and looked like a seasoned pro after being the last pick in the draft, being Mr. Irrelevant. And the nickname just became ironic because he was anything but. Oh boy, was he relevant. He looked like he was going to be the next quarterback of the Niners for 10 years. Just in that 8-game sample size. Maybe you can say, Spadoni, that's a little ridiculous. Calm down. We thought that about Jeff Garcia, Alex Smith, Kaepernick, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. Yeah. But I think that stretch that he had was just as good as some of those guys. Maybe Kaepernick in there probably had a more dominant run, running and throwing. God, Cap was so damn good during that stretch. But it faded quickly. And that's just what we're hoping does not happen with the quarterback position this season. We do not want it to fade quickly, because if it fades quickly and you're still asking the quarterback question after this season, I just got 3 words for you. Maybe it's 6. I forget how the drop is. But it's this.
You like that? You like that?
You like that? Because that's what's going to happen. My guy, Kirk Cousins, will be coming into town. Not a lot of 49er fans, guy, but my guy, Kirk Cousins. So will the quarterback position, the Rubik's Cube, the Jenga puzzle, the 1,000-piece puzzle, hell, this quarterback position, if it was a puzzle, it'd be like 100,000 piece. Because it hasn't been solved since Steve Young. Will it be solved after this season is my question. 888-957-9570. As, again, Brock Purdy threw a practice yesterday. He met with the media. We're going to hear from him. We're going to hear from David Lombardi. He joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, had some interesting thoughts. He was live at training camp there. So good morning to all of you on the YouTube chat. EJ, Luis, Rich, appreciate you guys. Happy Friday. Thank you for the little sunflower, Luis. Always love sunflowers. That's Jade's, the missus. That's her favorite flower, so I always get her those. Just, out of the blue. That's the best way to do it if you're getting flowers for someone. Out of the blue. They're not expecting it. Yeah, sure, you got the birthdays, you got the anniversaries, Christmas, Valentine, all that sort of stuff. Sure. But out of the blue is the best. So if you're thinking about doing it today, go on and do it. Get some flowers for your loved one. Sure, they'll appreciate that. I appreciated hearing Brock Purdy's voice. because it's been too long. And shout out Brock Purdy. Speaking of getting flowers, didn't he just get engaged recently? Good on you, Brock. Here he is talking yesterday to the media on still knocking off that rust after having that elbow surgery just months ago.
I mean, there's just some rust I still got to knock off. I didn't get any, obviously, reps and OTAs or anything like that with 11 on 11, 7 on 7, whatever. Just the pace of the game, seeing a defense, dropping back, going through reads. So today it was good just to get out there, go through some reads and stuff, let it rip. Obviously, I had the interception, but, that's something I'm going to just go in the film room, learn from it, and get on the same page with BA and continue to grow. And so more than anything, I was just excited to be able to get live reps.
From the 510 on the Xfinity mobile text line, what are you doing this weekend? He's going to check out Oppenheimer. Okay. I've heard great things from both the Barbie and the Oppenheimer, so if you're doing each, congrats to you. I love the movie theater. Big movie guy. I just haven't had the time. Hard with the little ones. So the movies I see are usually on a Sunday, early morning, because heaven forbid we sleep until 8 o'clock at the least. No. We're waking up at 6 or 7 on the weekends, which in fairness is still sleeping in for a guy like me who wakes up 3:30 every day, so it is what it is. I'd still like to sleep until 9, but I don't think that's ever happening again until I'm on vacation alone with Jade. From 510, Brock's arm strength looks really good. Surprised he came back this fast. Looked really good? Were you there, 510? I'm hearing mixed things. I'm hearing, high velocity. I'm hearing he's looked stronger than ever. I wouldn't say that. For a guy that came into the league with limited arm strength as it is, I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that he's even stronger post-major surgery on his throwing arm. So I think it's still going to take some time. Stronger than ever, I think, is just a reach. He'll get back. He may have some throws where it looks, wow, there it is. But then he's going to have some ducks here and there. Here's David Lombardi, who enjoyed Willard and Dibbs yesterday. He thought he looked pretty good.
He's coming off of elbow surgery, right? So you're worried about a weak arm. You're worried about a lack of velocity. And none of those things was true with Brock Purdy. He actually overthrew Deebo Samuel and he overthrew Juwan Jennings. He threw one a little bit high to Brandon Ayuk, but it had a lot of mustard on it, and Ayuk climbed the ladder to go get it. So from a physical standpoint, Brock Purdy looks like he has his velocity back. It looks like he's got the throwing depth back, and that's what the 49ers really wanted to see on day one. They also expected to see some rust, and they got plenty of that. He was only 3 for 10 today. He threw an interception to Deshaun Gibson. The timing was a little bit off. I mean, it was what you would expect for a quarterback who has not run an 11-on-11 practice in 6+ months.
David Lombardi there of The Athletic, covers the team, does a hell of a job, joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday. If you want to find that entire interview, search 95.7 The Game, like, subscribe on YouTube, and be sure to download that Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game. All right. He's back. What's the next step going forward for Brock Purdy? Basically, at this point, it's just starting week 1. And I know it's not the sexiest thing. It's like, oh, well, now what are we going to do? What do we have this checklist? I was like, no. It's going to be interesting to see in a few weeks when he trains and practices and joint practices with the Las Vegas Raiders down in Las Vegas and Henderson, Nevada. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Because that's when you're going to start feeling or hearing some things coming out of training camp. That's like, oh man, he tore up so-and-so. Or, oh no, Brock threw so-and-so many interceptions. Like you always think back of Jimmy Garoppolo, joint practices with Denver. What was it, 4 straight interceptions? And we were freaking out. The sky was falling, if you will. Then they go to the Super Bowl. So I was like, okay, how much stock we put into practice? In practice, what does it mean? Well, you're working through stuff. You're trying new things. Seeing if it works here. Because if it doesn't work here, it's not going to work in game. So that's what they're doing. They're polishing themselves. And for Brock, yes, it's knocking off that rust. Here's more from Purdy talking about taking it day by day through the rehab process.
Honestly, they gave me a plan. We all sat down, had a plan, and we just stuck to it. And it was just get better every single day. Once we start throwing, here's the set of throws we got. Here's the amount of volume. Here's the intensity. and then just work your way up, see how you feel after every throwing session, and then just go from there. So there's never been a time in my, mind where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be here. I've taken it literally one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and thankful to be where we're at.
Thankful to be where we are at. And I'm thankful to be here talking to you at 888-957-9570. That is the number to call or text the Xfinity mobile text line. And good morning to El Guero and EJ. EJ Gomez, as the question always is on the pregame show on Friday. What are you doing this weekend? EJ's going to a car show tomorrow at the Cow Palace. Shout out EJ. Cars personally never did much for me, but I can appreciate, whatever types of cars there are. Growing up down in the Monterey Peninsula and Pacific Grove, they have tons of car shows. They have the Pebble Beach, they have the Concours d'Elegance, all that sort of stuff. So yearly, there would be a different car show, it felt like, once a month somewhere, whether it was at Laguna Seca, Pacific Grove, Monterey, whatever, downtown. So I appreciate it. Just maybe I'm just car showed out. But good on you, EJ. Thanks for contributing. El Guero on the chat. Good morning, Spadoni. Big time boxing this weekend. Spencer versus Crawford. Yes. Big time boxing fight that I probably will not be watching. Errol Spence taking on Terrence Crawford. It's going to be fighting. It's been pumped up like the big fight that's going to be happening this year. I just, for whatever reason, I get into boxing here and there. When it was the big names, when Floyd took on Manny Pacquiao, okay. We had Tyson Fury versus Wilder. Yeah, okay, that was fun. Yeah, hell, you had Anthony Joshua versus, who was it? His name is escaping me. Was it Ruiz? Help me out, text line, if you can't. But yeah, the big boys I get into, but other than that, it's hard. It's hard. I feel like if I'm watching boxing, I'm at a buddy's house and they just have the fight and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But it is hard for me to get out of my way to go to it. Good on you if you're watching it. No shade. Just for me, the allure of boxing, and maybe I had to be there when I was younger for the whole Tyson stuff. And I was 5 or 6 when he was fighting. Hell, that was even past his prime at that point anyways, late 90s. But for me, growing up, boxing just there wasn't super sexy names. And if my dad wasn't watching it, I wasn't watching it. But who's watching that this weekend? Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, 888-957-9570. I think UFC may have, in the last decade plus now, kind of overtaken that shine, if you will, because you're familiar with some of the names. You got the McGregors, obviously, the John Bones Joneses. You had Ronda Rousey in the female side. You had all these different names, Nunez, all that sort of stuff. So, at least for me, UFC more than boxing these days gets me up and going. But that's not to throw shade. Just saying where the current state of the sports are. 888-957-9570. Good morning to all of you on the Xfinity mobile text line. 510. He looked good for a guy who had major reconstructive surgery 4 months ago. And in fairness, I only saw video clips. Fair enough. Fair enough. From the 415. Cars the movie over Cars the vehicle. Yeah, young Benjamin, not super into cars like some other kids are. He watched it and enjoyed it, but not his favorite. He's more into the Spider-Man, superhero type of stuff, which I appreciate as a nerd myself. Speaking of nerds and film buffs, you watching Oppenheimer this weekend, watching Barbie? I think I'm going to go out and see one of those. And I know the whole Barbenheimer thing's kind of passed or whatever. What was it called? Yeah, but Barbenheimer, right? Barbenheimer, whatever it's called. I think I'm going to go check out Barbie. I think. Mother-in-law's in town this weekend. Help out the kids. Maybe I'll take the missus out for a date. Might be a fun time. No, I'm not going to be wearing hot pink. But I'll give you reviews on Monday for it if you haven't seen it. Because that's already a week past now. Opening weekend was last weekend. So, spoiler alert on Monday. And no, I will not be on the pregame show Monday. No pregame show next week. I will be in for Joe Shasky on the morning roast. It'll be Bonta Hill and I next weekend on the roast. So if you're looking to tune in on the pregame show, and I miss you guys at 5 a.m., I do, but I also appreciate the extra hour of sleep. I will be in next week with Bonta Hill on the morning roast. So there's that. Here's more from Brock Purdy, who again, through in practice yesterday. Mixed reviews, mixed bag, if you will. We'll be joined by Joe Shasky in about 30 minutes here for the crossover. He'll give me his thoughts. He saw all the quarterbacks throw yesterday, and I saw Bonte's tweet yesterday that Sam Darnold, fight on. He was the guy that looked amazing yesterday and won the day of all the quarterbacks. But here's more from Brock Purdy talking yesterday after training camp practice, if he feels good enough to play 11 on 11 football.
I feel like I'm good enough to play an 11 on 11 football. And so we talked about that when I got back here with Shanahan. And basically I told him, I'm like, hey, I feel good enough and confident enough that if I got into an 11 on 11 situation, I can make every throw. So that's the conversation that we had. And they gave me the green light to go out there and go. And obviously the medical staff told them, and they've been with me this whole time throwing in the offseason. They gave Shanahan the green light to, hey, he's good enough to do it. And they've seen me throw. So we've all been on the same page the whole time. But I feel good enough to play football right now at camp, 11 on 11. Still got to work up volume and just continue to get better every day.
So he feels like he's good enough. Hey, if I get tossed in that situation right now, if I needed to play some football 11 on 11, I'm good to go. Fair enough. And that's all really he can say right now. I mean, what is he going to say? Yeah, I'm going to look as good as I was last year. He's like, I don't know. Good enough to play. I'm making the throws. So it's interesting to see the different conversations surrounding Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold during training camp. It feels like this quarterback position for the San Francisco 49ers, as it pertains to the coverage, has gotten a little, I don't want to say toxic, but people are picking sides, if you will. We were just talking about Barbie and Oppenheimer. Picking a side, which one are you? People are picking sides as it pertains to the quarterback battle, and it feels like we've been talking about this for the past, 20 plus years now? Since Jeff Garcia, then Alex Smith, Kaepernick, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. Here, sure, Sam Darnold now. I'm exhausted talking about it, to be quite honest with you. Not exhausted talking football. I love talking football. But this quarterback battle has been a thing in Santa Clara now. Well, San Francisco, Santa Clara for the last decade plus. But you get what I'm saying. It's been a thing now for 20 plus years. Is the quarterback conversation and problem finally going to be solved after this season? That's the ultimate question, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are like, I just want a damn Super Bowl. I don't care who quarterbacks it. And I understand that. But I think there is a good chunk and a good part of a lot of 49er fans that are like, hey, it'll be a successful season if I know who my damn quarterback is going forward. Can we at least get that? And I may be wrong. It may be Super Bowl or bust. But just looking on the outside, how crazed the Niner faithful are surrounding this position and the coverage and the media aspect, I think we're just starved to know who a quarterback is for the foreseeable future in San Francisco for San Francisco. Is that even more important than getting to a Super Bowl? I know it sounds crazy, but that's where we're at. Is answering the quarterback question for the San Francisco 49ers this season the most important thing going forward? 888-957-9570. It may seem obvious, but we've been asking this thing for a long time. And if we're still going to ask it, then the question becomes, should Kyle Shanahan still have all this personnel decision-making? Because as of now, just how it looks, Trey Lance was a whiff. Now, that could change. If he starts this year, he looks great, and he gets a starting quarterback position, okay, great. But as of now, those failed trade. It's a failure. Did he luck into Brock Purdy? I'm not saying lucked into it. He drafted the guy, so he gets credit for that. I'm not going to put luck into that. Anyone could have had him. He is Mr. Irrelevant. Last pick of the draft. And they took him. So they get credit for that. And the development of him. But at the same time, if you're juxtaposing that with the Trey Lance debacle, and it's been a debacle so far, it'd be fair to call it a wash. And who's ultimately going to be that dude after this season? Brock Purdy's going to get the first chance at it. How long is his leash going to be if he struggles? I think a lot of people expect him to look like he did in that 8-game stretch last season. And if he looks as good as he did last year, yes, he will be the quarterback or for the foreseeable future. But if he doesn't, again, another conversation, another question mark. And I think we're all tired of asking the question at the quarterback position for this team. Here's more from the QB1 himself, Brock Purdy, talking about if Shanahan has told him that he's the starter going into week 1, barring a setback.
No, we haven't had any, kind of conversation like that. It's, hey, how can I be great today at practice? Let's get these reps. Let's get the mental reps, and let's continue to grow. Obviously, what we put on tape last year was great and all, but there's still a lot of areas where I have to grow and get better and stuff. So that's just where we're at. We're not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Good morning to all of you on Twitch and YouTube. We are streaming. Like and subscribe there. Search 95.7 The Game, and also be sure to download that Odyssey app. Good morning, Jesus. Saludos. Buenos dias. Alex in Atlanta, our guy, the Not in Numbers from the Morning Roast. Good morning. Appreciate you guys chiming in. 888-957-9570 is the number to call or text. Want to hear from you if you've been out at training camp. What have you seen? Does it have to be quarterback related? Even if that is the biggest story? Hell, it's the biggest story in sports. Quarterback competition. You saw yesterday, one of the biggest names of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow, had to leave via a cart, hurt his calf, no Achilles injury, calf strain. Good news there for Cincinnati. You hate to see anything like that. Saw that in Miami too. Another star player on the defensive side, Jalen Ramsey, obviously former Ram, former Jaguar, torn meniscus, going to have complete torn meniscus surgery there. Hopefully gets back at some point this season, but man, that was a big acquisition for Miami. And to lose that this early in training camp, it's a tough blow. It's an absolutely tough blow there. Garrett Wilson limped off with an apparent ankle injury. All reports are he is fine there. For the Jets, they're going to do some more tests, but nothing too serious, they hope. So, again, the name of the game, as it is for a lot of these teams, but especially for the San Francisco 49ers, and it's been like that for the last 5 to 10 years, it's health. This team stay healthy. It's all we want is a healthy squad going into the season, a healthy quarterback, running back, wide receiver, everything. Can you stay healthy? Now, I don't expect it to be like that throughout the season. There will be injuries, and your depth will be tested, especially when it comes to the quarterback position, as we know. But just stay healthy. If they can get health at the quarterback position all year long, I'm pretty damn confident this team will be back in the NFC Championship. That's how confident I am in Kyle Shanahan in this team. Now, would it be tough if they lost a guy like a Christian McCaffrey? Absolutely. He probably is the most important player outside of the quarterback position for this team. The weapon X, if you will. I think that's what Shasky likes to call him. He's that dude. Could do everything. He's the ultimate safety blanket for this team, for Brock Purdy, Lance, Darnold, whoever plays. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens going forward here in training camp when it comes to load management, when it comes to the preseason games, who plays, who doesn't. There's going to be a lot of guys sitting out for the preseason, I'll tell you that. This is what it is now. These guys are too valuable to be getting hurt in preseason. Now, you want to make sure the touches are there, because what you don't want is week 1 or 2, and these guys look like they're not game ready, and they push, they get an injury, then they're out for a while. But keeping this is a balance. Keeping them fresh, but also making sure they're getting that work in. It's a tough line to have. And here's David Lombardi, who, again, joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday. You can find that whole interview on 95.7 The Game. He was at 49ers training camp covers the team for The Athletic, does a hell of a job, talking about the 49ers slow playing Brock Purdy and not rushing him back. Take a listen.
The 49ers are actually slow playing this in relation to everything else. The 49ers have said, even though this guy's fully cleared, we're going to give him every third day off from throwing. We're going to take what he was doing during his rehab, and we're going to extend that into the first 2 weeks of training camp just to play it safe. So I think, anybody saying that this is a rush back for Brock Purdy, that sounds like a really emotional judgment that's not tethered in reality, because the truth of the matter is the 49ers are slow playing this after Purdy's been cleared by a very renowned doctor.
Got to take a quick break. Come on back. More from David Lombardi on Brock Purdy. More from Brock Purdy on Brock Purdy. And also, oh yes, you didn't think we'd forget our guy Jimmy Garoppolo that easily. No. He had some interesting thoughts from day one of Raiders training camp in regards to his new coach, well, new and old, in Josh McDaniels, former coach out there in New England for him. So we'll listen to that. And did you hear what Sean Payton had to say about Nate Hackett and the New York Jets? You're not going to want to miss this. It's the pregame show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
The Alameda County Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee for the Electrical Trade is recruiting paid apprentices for its 5-year apprenticeship program. Work during the day with paid employment and attend classes during day and evenings. An electrical worker certificate is awarded upon successful completion. Starting pay is $28.08 an hour. Must be at least 18, have a photo ID, and be a high school grad or have a GED. Apply Friday, August 18th.
and historical presentations. Go to sfhistory.org and discover the San Francisco Historical Society, giving our history a great future. Become a member today.
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Just as I thought it was going all right, I found out I'm wrong.
Welcome back, pregame show.
It's always the same, it's just a shame. That's all.
Joe Spadoni, Phil Collins Friday. Friday. We made it. We're just getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for school, getting ready for the weekend. What are you doing this weekend? Is the question that's always asked here on the pregame show on a Friday. 888-957-9570. Hit me up on the Xfinity mobile text line. Same number to text or call 888-957-9570. Also, we are streaming live on Twitch, on YouTube. Search 95.7 The Game. Like and subscribe there. We've been listening to Brock Purdy, who spoke to the media yesterday after throwing and participating in training camp, getting the first team reps, along with Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. And basically, it's status quo for Brock. He's like, just knocking the rust off, so-and-so and so-and-so. There's only so much you can really talk about when you're not doing tackles, not doing anything like that, not wearing pads, just wearing the helmet. So it's business as usual so far. The real questions are going to be when they start putting the pads on, doing the joint practices, preseasons and getting reps there, all that sort of stuff, and that'll play itself out in time. So we'll continue to take your calls and texts as it pertains to that. And again, the name of the game for the 49ers and every single team during this time of the year is staying healthy. We saw yesterday with the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Ramsey, torn meniscus, horrible. He's going to have surgery, hoping he can be back at some point in the season. Thank you, Joe Shasky, who brought me a coffee that I desperately needed. Your boy's struggling, but not talking sports. Not talking football, I don't struggle. Just staying awake is tough this morning, buddy. Just
my mind is on vacation, dog.
Dude, where are you going?
Crazy? Going to Crazy Train.
Oh, yeah?
No. I'm going up to Russian River.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But I got to go up to Sacramento.
It's toasty up there, huh?
Auburn. I got to go to Auburn for my grandpa's birthday.
Speaking of hot.
It's a long day. Me,
War
my
Eagle.
brother, and George going up
go.
to Auburn tomorrow. The little guy.
War Eagle, buddy.
We're making like 7 pit stops for the little guy. He's 2.5.
Yeah. How long's that drive?
Hopefully 2.5 hours.
Yeah, okay. So you should maybe 1 or 2. If he's not potty trained, that's one thing, but...
Oh, I'm talking about me being potty trained. Joey, just can I give you one little nugget? And we'll talk about it in about 10 minutes.
A Denver nugget or a chicken?
Why is everyone afraid to just say the truth?
What was the truth?
Brock looked suspect.
Wow.
Why are we afraid to go? Like, he looks skittish in the pocket. It's day one. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't reasons why, there aren't excuses why, but let's call a spade a spade. He didn't look good.
He don't look good.
But why is it so hard for people to say? Everyone's afraid to say the obvious.
Well, Brock even said it, that he was rusty and he had to knock some rust off, but apparently some are saying they look stronger than ever, so which one is it? How can you be stronger? I just want to know this real quick. How can you be stronger after having surgery and you already had limited arm strength to begin with?
And you're ramped up.
And then you're ramping up, but you're stronger than ever. Come on.
Brandon Allen and Purdy have very similar arm strength, which is a lot less than, and that's fine.
We like to use it's limited is the term we like to use. That's fine.
Look at whatever your thoughts are of Darnold's, processing and seeing the field.
Big arm. Yes.
Him and Lance
he has an
have
elite
huge arms.
Arm strength.
Lance has a stronger arm than Darnold, and Darnold has a very strong arm.
Yes.
And a very good arm with good touch. Like, I'm not trying to deny it. I thought yesterday was more about Darnold. Darnold, if Darnold puts together more days like he did yesterday, he's starting games for this team.
Wow. Listen, I don't think it's crazy.
Doors wide open.
Okay.
This is a team that wants to win now. This whole Brock's QB1, they're ramping this thing up. So the whole narrative why Brock is playing is to win now, yet we're ramping him up and we're going to give him leeway to get ready for the season on a win now team. Like, we're all over the map on this one.
I mean, it's the biggest question in sports right now is the 49ers quarterback position. At least for me, it is. Like, if we're still asking this question after this season, like, what are we doing?
I'm telling you this right now. When you're out there, it's a circus.
Yes.
They're
The
juggling.
coverage is a circus.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it on
let's just
social
get- let's
media.
I'm just going to get it.
Just
I'm
get in
sorry.
here, Joe. Sit down. Come
I'm
on.
ready to talk about
Let's
this.
start.
Let me get my headphones. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you're good. Joe Shasky, Morning Roast. He joins me with the Crossover. We'll have a little early edition for it here of the Crossover. But man, he's right. It's just, the coverage and the toxicity around it is something that you don't see with a lot of, like, you'll see it maybe with certain big markets, the Jets, the Giants, okay, whatever. But even those guys, Eli Manning was there for the better part of 15 years, it felt like. Like with the Jets, yes, they've been struggling, stuff like that. Yes, Aaron Rodgers, that show will be a circus. It's the Jets, you're used to it. The San Francisco 49ers, they've had good quarterback play, but you haven't had it for 5, 6, 7 years. That's all we're wondering. Can we get that after this season? And if it's still a question mark, Joe Shasky, and that's the ultimate thing. And I've been asking fans this morning at 888-957-9570. I feel like, and listen, you want to win a Super Bowl, that's the end all be all. But more than anything, I think Niner fans just want their answer at quarterback after this season. Can we have that? Do you feel confident that that's even going to happen?
Watching all these quarterbacks rip in and out of the lineup, and they're juggling things. I took a video. There was a sequence of 15 minutes, 9 minutes, excuse me, where Trey Lance and Brock Purdy are taking snaps next to each other and throwing. And it was a game of telephone as I'm watching and I'm videoing it, and I'm watching how everyone else is consuming it. How can you watch both things simultaneously? So people are jaded. This is one big telltale of how you view things. And I'll give Mark Willard credit. We walk into life with these preconceived notions and confirmed biases.
Yeah.
I do, you do.
Yes.
It's how we were raised, things that we learned at the kitchen table from our parents, if we have them and they're in our lives. Things that you went through in your life are going to shape how you view things.
Conscious, unconscious bias.
Absolutely.
And
I
every
admit
single one
all
of us.
that.
Yes.
Here's what I would say. I'm genuinely shocked. People are there's a reason why Brock Purdy looked not so hot yesterday. He's coming back from those things. But why are we afraid to just say it out loud? He didn't look so good.
I mean,
no one's saying he sucks.
No.
No one's saying he's done. No one's saying he can't look good tomorrow or next week. I'm saying, you're asking me, Joe, what happened yesterday? Yeah, Brock looked kind of crappy.
I mean, it's going to be
a lot crappy.
It's going to be the longest month and a half, whatever it is, and up until week 1, because this is all we're going to be doing, folks.
But am I a bad person for admitting,
no, you're not a bad person.
If you ask me, Joe, what happened yesterday? This is exactly forget all the caveats.
No.
What happened yesterday? Darnold made some of the best throws on the field. Trey didn't get a lot of chances. He was an afterthought. Just because you didn't see him out there. And Brock kind of stunk yesterday. If you're asking me what happened,
okay, there you go.
Dominated.
Ayuk, okay.
The defense is locking them down. There's not a lot of places to throw.
Steve Wilkes talked about that.
You're asking about my these are my opinions. The D is loaded.
Oh, yeah.
Loaded.
No. Steve Wilkes, defensive coordinator now coming over from Carolina, said this is the most deep he's ever seen a team. He's never had a team like this.
But why is this me? You're a hater. No, you asked me what I saw. It's yesterday. We'll see what happens today. We'll see what happens next week.
It's leaking into this thing, and it's an aspect that we have in the NBA, player fandom.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing it with quarterback. It's weird to me.
As a non-Niner fan,
it's very strange.
I want your opinion on this.
It's very strange. And we have some rational callers. I heard Lori in Phoenix calling yesterday. She's like, I just want to win damn games. All right, I don't care who does it, anything like that. But that's the thing. I think a lot of Niner fans have dug themselves into, I'm either Team Brock, I'm Team Lance. Hell, there may be a Team Donald contingent. I saw it with the Raiders. I saw it with, I'm Team Derek for life. He's gone. I'm never going to root for him. Really? Derek Carr, who never won a playoff game or did anything? That's what we're doing? At least Brock Purdy, he won playoff games. I can understand you're being all in on the Purdy train. But at the same time, you could also be a fan saying, hey, listen, Brock did great and amazing things. He also had major surgery and major injury. If that opens the door for Trey Lance, who we invested all this draft capital in, yeah, I would like to see something there. It's not this or that, but that's what it's turned into, and it's very toxic.
Again, what did
the coverage and the fan base?
No
it's
doubt.
Toxic.
Well, and I found it very interesting as I'm walking out of that practice. Bonte and I were not next to each other the whole practice. I'm down the way. He's on the other side. We had different angles. We had different things, and I'm watching and watching. And I called him right after practice, and I was like, Brock didn't look good. He looked really overwhelmed. Now, again, It's day one.
Yes.
He looked like a guy who hadn't practiced in months. But here's my thing. He's behind the 8 ball here. Yeah. Darnold looked like a guy who also, by the way, if I wanted to give context, boy, Darnold looked good today. And he's only been in the offense for a couple weeks. What's he going to look like in a couple weeks? I was shocked how good Darnold made the 4 best throws yesterday.
We're going to continue this conversation on the other side. Joe Shasky, the cross Joe over. Joe Spadoni here.
It's the full Darnold experience.
The pregame show. This is the full Darnold, full Joe Shasky experience here. He's in vacation mode. He's excited. He's joining me early. And on the other side here on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Can you hum along to every 80s pop melody or recognize the beats of every classic hip-hop track? Whatever decade of music is your true love, you can prove it to anybody with the world's biggest music quiz game on Alexa.
Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Oh yeah, it's a Phil Collins Friday here on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, Joe Shasky here for the crossover, an extended crossover. Shout out extends. 888-957-957. You remember those commercials? I used to watch this show G4. Remember that channel? It's all video games and stuff like that. I swear to God, that commercial was on every other one. The guy, this is Bob, and he's smiling all the time. And he's driving around. Yeah, YouTube and Twitch, they know what I'm talking about. We're streaming live on there. Shout out the Xfinity Mobile text line again, 888-957-9570. Picking the mind of Joe Shasky, because he, along with Bonta Hill, Steiny, Goo, they were live from the Hilton Santa Clara the last 2 days, and Shasky and Bonta got to watch and observe training camp. So we're picking his brain here because, listen, I don't get to go there. So I like to pick the brains of these guys that were actually there. And Joe Shasky, what you saw yesterday was, hey, Brock Purdy looked rusty. He talked about it after practice yesterday. He spoke to the meeting. He's like, listen, I'm just trying to get the rust off. If I needed to play 11 on 11, I feel confident I can make the throws. That's one thing. But there were some ducks in there, and that's okay. You thought, and Bonte as well, he tweeted it, Sam Darnold won the day. He looked the best. There's nothing wrong with saying that. But apparently, that's a hot take these days. Because people are so entrenched in their guy, quote unquote, is Brock Purdy. My guy's Trey Lance. My guy's Sam Darnold. It's like, we just want to see the best guy out there for the 49ers. It's basically what you're telling me, right? And right now, the best guy just on the field is Sam Darnold. Now, as it goes along, maybe that guy will be Brock Purdy. But coming off major arm surgery, if he continues to look like this, now it's early and stuff like that, do you think there should be a conversation about who starts week one? Do you think Brock should be the week one starter set in stone?
I think everything's fluid. I just think everything is fluid with this team.
Okay.
They're like, Joe, everybody who's not watching from afar, like if you're not at practice, I can understand things that are coming out. It's so hard to sift through. Like it really is. Like this person's saying this and this person's saying that, and you want to be reasonable and you want to take a step back and remove emotion. When you go there, when you go to practice, they are juggling. And look, every practice, every team in the league is juggling 50 things at once, right? So this is not exclusive to the Niners. When you go there, it's impossible not to see. The most important thing that's going on is there are all of these quarterbacks throwing the ball, and these players are themselves trying to show out. Brandon Ayuk is a great example. Let's just use him as an example. He wants to get paid.
Yeah.
He is dominating right now. Do you think he wants to look a little suspect in camp because the ball's not getting delivered to him by whatever quarterback? Or do you think he wants to be humming so that he could show off that he is dominating practice so that he could prove to the people that are watching practice every single day, I deserve to be paid like an apex player in the league?
The latter, yes.
Absolutely. This team is looking to win a Super Bowl. When you go out there, the focus level and the sense of urgency is unreal. So if you think they're just going to be like, we're just here to ramp it up for all of these guys, and I would put, Brandon Allen in that conversation, Trey Lance, Darnold, or even Brock Purdy. So my point being is, no, I don't think anyone's going to be patient. I think this is all about winning right now at the highest level, period.
It's so wild that we keep talking about it, and you just said it. This team's trying to win a Super Bowl.
It's crazy.
And the conversation is still about the damn quarterback.
It's nuts.
I just can't wrap my head around it. Like, that's what ultimately, and people might say, oh, Spadoni, you're being a hater. This is the most talented team. I was like, great. You could be the most talented team ever. If you don't know who your quarterback is, you ain't winning a damn thing.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, though, Brad Johnson, stuff like that. Great. They had an all-time defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trent Dilfer, all-time defense.
Yes.
And maybe, just maybe, this could be the greatest defense in the history of the 49ers. Although we were saying that, 6, 7, 8 weeks into last season? And then what happened? Guys started getting hurt.
Yep.
They started giving up a lot of points here and there. Chiefs came in, tapped that ass in Santa Clara, and then it's like, okay, maybe this isn't the greatest defense of all time. The depth this year, though, Joe Shasky, adding in a guy like Javon Hargrave, bringing in Steve Wilkes, and that's going to be an interesting conversation because this is an outsider. Last 2 years, you had Bob Saleh. who had relationships with Kyle Shanahan. You had D'Amico Ryans, who was this guy who was kind of waiting in the wings, rising up through the system. He's gone. He's the head coach now in Houston. So bringing in this guy, Steve Wilkes, who talked yesterday to the media, is like, this is like, I'm a kid at the candy store. It's like the most depth I've ever had. This could be a Super Bowl defense, and you have Super Bowl talent all around the offense, but ultimately it comes to that quarterback position, and if you don't know who the guy is, and maybe Shanahan does, he thinks it's going to be Brock Purdy. He said it as much, that he's going to be the guy. He's the QB1, if you will. But if he's going to continue to struggle, it's early, I get it, then you do have a conversation on your hands, and then hard truths are going to have to be made.
Do you think this thing is like static? As in, like, do you think this thing is stuck in carbonite, frozen, not to be moved?
What?
Just in positional depth charting right now. Do people really believe? Forget quarterback, any position. Don't we all like understand? Like, yeah, Nick Bosa is not going to be unseated by someone, but you know, if he showed dramatic drop off, I'm just saying dramatic drop off, and somebody else stepped to the forefront, you think you're just riding with Nick Bosa?
Yeah.
Or are you going to play the other guy?
You're going to play the other guy. If he's struggling that much, yes.
That's my point,
Yeah.
is that I think that we're viewing the quarterback thing as everything set in stone, and I just don't think that's how the Niners operate. I don't think that's how sports operate. So whether it's, you know, Joe Montana in his prime, whether it's Brock Purdy, whether we're talking about Sam Darnold, look, my big takeaway yesterday was they're going to play multiple quarterbacks this year. It's just inevitable.
Oh, yeah.
It's inevitable.
If you're giving me the over-under on Brock Purdy starts, let's put it at 13 and a half.
I don't even know if it's that much.
12 and a half.
I look at. I'm watching. Okay, again, you got. This is the part of like.
Well, history will tell you he's not going to start every single game because that's only happened once under the Kyle Shanahan tenure, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019.
Since Harbaugh, it's been a revolving door of quarterbacks. Okay,
It just has been.
So here's the thing. Yesterday, Sam Darnold, there were things that you see on the field, and you're like, all right, I see what people see. And then on the very next play, you're like, where are you throwing it? Bonte turned to me and was like, good Darnold, bad Darnold, all in back-to-back plays. And he did it twiis.
Jeff George, basically, is what you're saying.
He made a throw to Brandon Ayuk. The window wasn't there, and he threw him open over the top with a congested pocket, and it was like, oh, some guys just don't have that in the bag. I don't care who you are in the league.
You can see why he was drafted in the top five.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The very next play, blind throw, congested pocket, and he just throws one up. And you're like, that is going, like, can he minimize those things and maximize the other stuff, right? Brock Purdy, I thought he looked really skittish in the pocket. It's day one.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you the truth. You're asking me what I'm seeing. He looks skittish in the pocket. Yes, it's day one. He hasn't played for weeks.
Yeah.
He hasn't played for months. He's getting up to speed. But in the back of my mind, I'm also saying there's a lot of guys who have gotten hurt who have stayed skittish in the pocket.
Derek Carr.
Post-return.
Yes. Like major injuries. And I know like it's not what you consider quote unquote because it wasn't a lower extremity or anything like that. Shout out Stephen A. Smith. But like Derek Carr, for example, broke his ankle Christmas Eve. We all remember it. Beating the Colts, all that sort of stuff. Matt McGloin had to come in, win the game. But he was never the same after that.
Yeah.
That was an MVP type of year for Derek Carr. That Raiders team was humming. I thought that guy was going to be the quarterback for the next decade plus. And now he was the quarterback for about 5, 6, 7 more years, but he was never that guy.
Yeah.
You just saw it. He didn't want to extend the play anymore. He looked fearless prior to that injury, Joe Shasky. After that, he always did this thing, and if you're on Twitch and YouTube, where he would like stick his hand out like the offensive line would be backing up into him. He's like, stay in front. Like, he looked scared. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's going to be that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, during the offseason, a lot of us were like, hey, he kept doing that same spin move to that sideline. You know what I'm talking about? When Brock would do that, he'd like spin.
The pirouette.
Yes. I watched Wilkes yesterday, and if you don't think other defenses are, and again, he has to adjust. This is when
they're going to pick up on his little
they threw
subtle
blitz
things.
that way. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I saw a guy try to make plays with his feet, and I'm like, in a game, he's gonna get smacked. He's got to adjust. But again, day one. But you're asking me what I saw.
Yeah,
that's what I saw.
There you go. You
know?
can only react with what you saw. From the 415 on the Xfinity Mobile text line, instead of the Jimmy Oh No throws, we're gonna have the Darnold Ducks. I like that. 415. This is a good sign, Joe. Jimmy had 7 interceptions in practice, and he took us to the Super Bowl that year. So he's gonna be fun.
I just think that people are underestimating. There are so many plates up in the air by this team, and I'm sure every team in the league has that same thing. It is impossible to not be hyper focused on quarterback at every turn. We're wasting time with Brandon Allen, who's clearly the fourth quarterback, and it's not anyone who's talking about Brandon Allen. You're insulting your own intelligence and you're wasting time, in my opinion. Okay. They're wasting time. If Darnold today goes back to being QB4 and Trey goes up to being QB2 and Darnold has to wait 25 minutes in between snaps, you're doing a disservice to your team.
Yeah.
Because Darnold needs those reps, right? And yesterday, watching Trey go 25 minutes in between reps and Brandon Allen getting a bunch of reps, I said, you're doing a disservice to your team. You're wasting time on a guy who is not going to be on this team if your top three quarterbacks, which are very obvious to me.
Yeah, I saw Cam Inman, Bay Area News Group, in 95.7 The Game 49ers Insider here. He basically tweeted, he's like, yeah, Bengals may want to get on the phone with Brandon Allen, try to get him back, because right now the depth chart for the Bengals not looking too great with Trevor Siemian, so-and-so, whoever else is backing up there. But yeah, that might be the move for the Bengals. Obviously, Joe Burrow with the calf strain yesterday. Nothing too serious, but they're going to want to monitor that and maybe have an extra quarterback in practice as he sits down. So maybe Brandon Allen will be on the move, Joe Shasky, sooner rather than later.
I understand why they brought in Brandon Allen. I really believe now, and I think Vontae's been on this. I think they didn't know about Purdy. And the more and more I think, you know what? I'm going to talk about it with Vontae. He was right about something, and I failed to see certain things. We're going to talk about everything. There's so much.
I'm so excited. The Morning Roast up next. Bonta Hill, Joe Shasky, they were live for training camp the last 2 days. We're going to hear from them what they saw with Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen, and everything. That's up next here on 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey station.